We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Tuesday, July 23rd here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and welcome to News Generation. Today, we're joined by Brooke Prince.
Hello, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, and we actually have a new panelist joining us today. He is Fabio Gonzalez.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Fabio. I'm 23 years old, and I've been living in Korea for 1 year.
Ooh, welcome, Fabio. Great to have you.
Thank you so much.
And Brooke and Fabio both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, as usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online. A survey conducted last month by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport shows that the majority of people in Korea are planning to start their summer break between July 27th and August 2nd. Nearly 77% of respondents answered they would be traveling domestically, with the East Coast emerging as the most popular destination. As for the mode of transportation, almost 82% plan to travel by car. Moving on the cultural front, K-pop fans have much to look forward to next year. Celebrating their 15th anniversary, girl group 2NE1 will reunite for the first time in 8 years for a world tour in 2025. According to their management agency YG Entertainment, the tour will kick off in October in Seoul before moving on to Osaka and Tokyo. Additionally, Blackpink is also set to embark on a world tour next year. Finally, in Spain, protests are mounting in popular tourist destinations like Barcelona, Mallorca, Malaga, and the Canary Islands. Residents are expressing their frustration over the surge in tourism, which they blame for rising housing costs and the depletion of public spaces and services. These protests highlight the tension between welcoming tourists and maintaining a livable environment for locals. So here in the studio, Fabio, as a native of Spain, I want to ask you, do you share these concerns about over-tourism in your home country?
Well, I definitely understand them. I feel like I come from a hometown that is in the south of Spain, very popular attraction for tourists, and I feel like definitely things like prices that are rising are big problems that people are enduring. But at the same time, I also feel that it's mostly because of the type of tourism that we have. Spain is very known for its lifestyle, its parties, and
it's
the
a
way
beautiful
people have
country.
found. Yes, I feel like it's a very good summer destination. And when you multiply the tourism that we get, obviously there are some benefits to that tourism, but at the same time there are some negative effects, like having the streets full of people and not being able to do your own lifestyle as a citizen. So I definitely understand the sentiment, and I feel like we should strive and try to get a better and sustainable system for tourists in Spain.
Right, and I think a lot of our viewers would resonate with these problems because over-tourism is not an issue that's only being faced in Spain, but in other parts of the country as well. We previously talked about this issue on NewsGen. So now to you, Brooke, have you also faced these challenges involving over-tourism? And do you have any suggestions in some of the ways we can alleviate the burden of these tourists?
Well, as you know, America is quite a large country, so not every city suffers from over-tourism, but of course the major popular destinations do, like New York City and the place where I used to live before I came to Korea,
Los Angeles.
And whenever you say Los Angeles, people always say the traffic. The traffic was definitely horrendous, and the housing was also quite expensive, and a lot of that is due to over-tourism. Similarly, in places like Miami, I recently went there to see my sister get married, and there were a lot of tourists, and I read that actually the rent in Miami is 37% higher than the national average, and that again is because of over-tourism. And this is not just a problem in Spain or in the US, but also in Korea, particularly in traditional villages where they have the hanok that tourists really love to see. Unfortunately, locals have been complaining because of higher noise complaints, traffic, trash, all of these problems. Because of that, the government has actually had to intervene. Now, I'm not sure what the solution is to this problem, but I would say maybe encouraging tourists to go to lesser known destinations. I mean, some of my favorite memories in Korea has been going to places that locals have recommended to me, not just tourist traps. So that's my thought on it.
Right, and these types of tours are actually trending here in Korea, and hope we can see more effective, sustainable solutions regarding tourism so that we can see these conflicts cool off. And that was our news feed for this Tuesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. So today we've chosen a topic for all of our viewers who have plans to study or who are already studying in Korea.
Stepping out of your comfort zone and starting a new life in a different country has its challenges. But just like the saying, no pain, no gain, studying abroad offers unique and life-changing experiences. Remember, adventure is the best way to learn. So imagine how much you can learn while adventuring and studying in a completely new environment. So, what's it like studying here in Korea?
Right, so today we're going to talk about what's it like studying here in Korea. And for a more in-depth and lively discussion on today's topic, we have invited Fabio to the studio. You seem like the perfect guest for the topic. So you briefly introduced yourself to our viewers, but I'm sure many of our viewers will want to know more about you. So please tell us more about your journey here in the country.
Of course. So I have been learning Korean for the past 8 years.
Wow.
But it's my first time actually living in Korea.
Really?
It's only 1 year.
Wow.
All due to Corona and all of the situations. But my major is actually in the field of design and art. So I know that it doesn't really have to do a lot with my Korean proficiency, but at the same time, I really wanted to mix both worlds and try to, start a new adventure in a new country. And I think that's part of the reason why I came to Korea. At the same time, I was also interested in a lot of the things that are related to the K-wave, the Hallyu wave, like K-pop, broadcasting.
Girls' generation.
Girls' generation, new generation, girls' generation, both. And I was also very inspired by the design and the production that goes behind it. And that's also part of the reason why I wanted to get, my education also here in this country.
Right, and Fabio, you mentioned it's been 8 years since you started learning Korean, but believe me, everyone, he is amazing at Korean. Unbelievable, really interesting. Now, we invited Brooke and Fabio both here to the studio today because you guys both chose to study here in the country.
Right.
So now to you, Brooke, are we actually seeing more international students making similar choices, that is, pursuing an education here in Korea?
Yes, we are. And I definitely remember almost 10 years ago when I first told my friends and family that I was going to Korea. It came out of left field, but these days it is a much more common occurrence for people to pursue their education here in Korea. Now, if you take a look at the screen, you can see that there have been a whopping number of international exchange students that have come to Korea. It's actually reached up to 182,000 as of last year, and this is a figure that has more than doubled in the past 10 years alone. Now, many are spectating that the reason why it's become so popular to study in Korea is, like Fabio mentioned, the Korean wave. Now, when I say the Korean wave, I mean the things that we know and love that Korea has to offer, like K-dramas and K-pop, Korean food, like mukbangs, Korean culture, the list goes on and on. There are so many things that appeal to the masses and bring them here. Now, statistics show that the most international exchange students come from countries like China, Vietnam, and Mongolia, but you only have to look so far as in this room, in this studio, to see that there is someone from Spain and someone from America here as well. So Korea has truly become a global phenomenon, and there are more and more international students coming here to see what Korea is all about.
I see. And talking about when you first came to Korea, Brooke, I heard that you first came to Korea. You've been living in Korea for 8 years now. I know that you didn't initially come to Korea to study, but I also heard that you actually pursued a degree here. So tell us more about your experience.
Yes, definitely. It's been wonderful to meet Fabio because I feel like we have a lot of similarities. There are 10 years between us in age, but we really do have a lot of similarities in our journey with Korea. My journey started in 2016 when I first came here to be an English teacher, actually. So not to be a student, but to be on the other side of the equation, to be a teacher. But I fell in love with the Korean language and I really wanted to learn it. So I started studying it at the Language Institute at Sogang University. And then eventually I ended up receiving the GKS Government Scholarship, and I started attending Chungang University, where I graduated with a master's degree in interpretation and translation. So during that program, I learned how to interpret consecutively and simultaneously from Korean to English, as well as from English to Korean.
That's amazing.
I have to say, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my lifetime, but it was so rewarding, one of my proudest achievements, and definitely some of my best memories here in Korea.
Great, inspiring, oh lovely. And based on the statistics we saw earlier, Korea is actually seeing an influx of international students, and I think that stories from both of you guys would make our viewers want to study more in Korea because they sound very interesting and rewarding. So now to you, Brooke, again, for those who are interested in actually pursuing education here, what are some processes or preparations they should definitely do when they are trying to come to Korea to study?
Well, since I was a scholarship student, like I said, the process was a little bit different in terms of applying, but in general, I would say one of the first things you should look at doing is studying for and taking TOPIK, and that is the Korean proficiency exam. It's very important for work and for school.
Right.
Depending on which school you want to apply to, as well as your level of education, they have different requirements for which score that you need to get, but regardless, it's a great thing to just have on your resume. And then, of course, the most frustrating thing as a foreigner living here, you have to deal with your visa.
Right.
So if you're going to study here, you do need a student visa, and there's a lot of paperwork that goes into that. So just make sure that you are organized, you know all of the rules, but don't be too intimidated because usually every school has an international department. Mine at Chungang University was wonderful. They helped me through the entire process. So don't be too worried. You can get through it.
Right, we can do it, everyone. Now, following these steps, once you come to Korea and you actually enter a school here, you now become a student at a Korean university or a Korean school. Now, Fabio, you're actually a student in a university in Korea, Seogang University.
Exactly.
So for students who are actually preparing to start their semester, which starts, the second semester of the year starts in September, right?
True, yes.
Right, so for them, do you have any suggestions or information on what kind of support services or benefits Korean universities or your school offers to these international students?
Well, definitely. It was nice to hear what Brooke said because we definitely have a lot of similarities. I'm also a scholarship student from the government, GKS, and that definitely helps with living costs and, getting a great education here in the country. So that's definitely a good idea for people who are planning to come to the country. For those who are already starting their journey, I would advise them to actually look for programs inside the university, inside the international team in the university that could help them actually build their network. I feel like there's a lot of programs that help international students build connections with Korean students or help each other. And they also might get some scholarships that can help them during their first months here in Korea. So that's definitely a good idea and a good advice that I would like to give people.
Are there any programs or memorable experiences regarding your university life?
Sure. I feel like I did participate in one of those. I didn't really need it because thankfully I did have a lot of friends that helped me through this process.
You made some great friends here.
I did make a lot of great friends that helped me, do the basic things, get a bank account, get a telephone number. All of these things are definitely necessary.
But they're hard to start off.
Very complicated because you need to look into each one of them and really, try to figure out what you need, how to do it, and how to deal with probably the language barrier for most people. And I feel like in my case, it didn't really help me that much because, I did have that connection, but for other people, I do think that it's a great opportunity because these kind of programs, they give you a Korean student that can actually help you to
that's nice.
get directly the bank account number or to get a telephone number, and they would do the whole translating work for
So
you.
helpful.
And they will get a scholarship. So it's basically a win-win situation for everyone.
I see. And I think another question that our viewers who are interested in studying Korea would have to our panelists is, how do you think Korea's campus life or education system in general differs from that of your home country?
Well, I don't want to scare anyone, but I did say earlier that it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I meant it. It was quite a grueling program. Just for comparison, in the United States, the average number of credits that a college student takes is between 12 and 15 to the highest. At Chungang University, I took up to 22 credits.
I've never taken 22 credits.
Now, to do the math on that, typically a credit equates to about 3 hours of schoolwork, both in and out of class. So that means that I did schoolwork for around 66 hours a week. Sometimes it was more than that. There was one day a week that we called our scary movie day, and that was because we had 9 hours of classes on that day.
Wow.
And also, I was taking classes during during the pandemic, so that was 9 hours in my chair in front of a computer. It was very, very difficult, but of course, again, don't want to scare anyone because not every program is going to be like this. My program was quite intensive, but I would say just prepare yourself for a bit of a harder workload. Korea really prioritizes quality education. They believe in you and your potential, and they really want you to succeed. I had some incredible teachers that still check up on me to see what I'm doing, and I've had many incredible opportunities come to me just because I attended that school. So all of this to say it was totally worth it, and if you are up for the challenge, if you like climbing a mountain and getting to the top, then I would definitely recommend studying in Korea.
Well, I mean, our generation is known for loving challenges, so why not?
Exactly.
Right, and Fabio, do you also agree with what Brooke said?
Definitely. I definitely agree that it's hard, it's tough, but at the same time, I think one of the reasons, and I think that Brooke will agree with me, is that in the Korean educational system, there's this thing about extracurricular activities like contests or maybe some voluntary work that can help people build their portfolio and, you know, have more chances to get a better job. And I feel like that keeps people busy. And I have encountered a lot of situations where I'm doing a teamwork that is only for class, and my classmates would, you know, encourage me to actually take it to the next level and participate in the contest. And that definitely takes a lot of hours from your personal schedule. So I encountered some situations that were fascinating for me because it was definitely a culture shock to see people sleep in the universities.
I've never slept at my university. I've graduated a university in Korea.
Actually, I did a total of like 5 or 6 times due to a final project. And yeah, it wasn't the most comfortable experience, but it was definitely something new
and
that
memorable,
I could
right?
only try in South Korea.
Right. So both of our panelists had very unforgettable and memorable experiences studying in Korea. Now, we've also asked our viewers if they're also interested in studying here in the country, and if given the chance, which field they would like to study in, and here's what 3 of them had to say. So if we look at the comments, Leon says, I would like to enroll in intensive Korean language programs designed for international students, and perhaps cultural courses which incorporate elements like history, the arts, etiquette, and cuisine. Ham says, I'm interested in studying Korea. I'm currently studying for a master's in AI. I would love to take a Korean course to improve my Korean and maybe a technical course in the future. Eric says, if I was given the chance, it'd be music production. K-pop is such an influence, not just for me, but for the world in general. I like to learn K-pop music production because they clearly find innovation out of thin air. So it seems like a lot of our viewers are interested in pursuing an education here in Korea. So now, for more advice and tips for those planning to study here, actually, we're now going to connect with a university professor. We'll be right back after this break. So today we're joined by Hannah Jun, Associate Professor at Ewha Women's University Graduate School of International Studies. It's great to have you back, Professor Jun.
Thanks so much for having me.
Good morning. So our first question is, Professor, could you tell us which department at your university, Ewha, has the largest number or portion of international students?
Oh, it's a great question. I don't actually have data on all departments right now, but I'm pretty sure that the program I'm part of, which is the Graduate School of International Studies, has one of the highest portions of international students. For our International Studies program, I believe this is about 80% of our student population. And for our Korean Studies program, that's about 30%. So still a very high percentage of non-Korean students, as well as Korean students. I think there are also quite a few international students in the Graduate School of Translation and Interpretation, just like Brooke. And we also have international students throughout most of our departments at Ewha, including arts, media, like Fabio as well.
Wow, that's so great to hear. Thank you for joining us, Professor. I have another question for you. Could you please introduce some programs or benefits your university provides to assist students from abroad?
Right. So I think our Office of International Affairs is really kind of at the forefront to make sure that our students are really well taken care of and adjusting to university life in Korea. As you mentioned, there are a lot of challenges that international students uniquely face here, and we want to provide them with as much assistance as possible. A lot of this is kind of financial and administrative, as you mentioned, visa issues as well, Korean language assistance, as well as mentorship. If I can do a little bit of PR for our university, there are some great scholarships in addition to GKS, which is kind of a governmental scholarship. For EHWA, we also have what we call the EGPP scholarship. This is the EHWA Global Partnership Program, and it's a really generous scholarship for outstanding students from developing economies who demonstrate academic excellence and who have a lot of leadership potential. And so I'm also very proud to have some students who have received this prestigious scholarship currently and also in the past. For Korean language, as you mentioned, a lot of students are interested to come to Korea and learn Korean. We have Korean classes that are offered to students for free if they choose to register during the semester. And then lastly, there are great mentorship programs like the EHWA MATE program, the EEA SIS program, we call it EASIS program for full-time students. And we also have a Peace Buddy program for exchange students. And as you might have mentioned, it really helps when we compare international students and Korean students so that they have, a friend, a buddy who can help them adjust to life in Korea and also to EHWA.
What about some tips or advice that you would give international students so that they can better adjust to the lifestyle in Korea?
Well, I think Brooke and Fabio, you already mentioned all of the great ones, so I'm trying to think of something that might be a little bit outside. But I think for international students, I think it might also be helpful to take initiative to reach out for help or even to make friends and looking for camaraderie, because I think in general, Korean nationals are very friendly and they're willing to help, but they might be a little bit more passive. And so I think if you can show your enthusiasm and maybe reach out first, that might encourage Korean nationals to help as well. Don't be shy to reach out to classmates, professors, even though we look scary, but also university staff, I think, whenever you need their support. And I think, as was mentioned by both of our panelists, even if you don't plan to live in Korea for the long term, I think it's always helpful to learn the language and really immerse yourself in the culture. Just being able to communicate, I think, in the local language does open a lot of doors and opportunities, so I'd encourage you to make that effort.
Some very helpful advice. All right, thank you, Professor Jung. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, last but not least, I think you guys would be able to give the most effective first-hand advice because you've both studied in Korea. You are studying Korea. So, any last words of advice for all those prospective students?
Sure. I would sum it up with only 3 things. I would say definitely initiative. As the professor said, I think with initiative, you can definitely overcome a lot of challenges, meet a lot of new people, and sometimes you just need to ask a question to actually get the answer right. And at the same time, I think for that you need confidence. Self-confidence is key. It might sound very cliche, but at the same time, it's something that, I feel like a lot of people want to work on that.
Right.
That would definitely be helpful. And then at last, it would be being open-minded. I think being open-minded will definitely help people overcome their challenges and, get the best out of the experience, even if they are not interested in living for their whole lives in Korea. I think it's definitely something that is beneficial for the experience.
Great. So initiative, confidence, open-minded. What about you, Brooke?
I'll just give it one sentence. Do your research. Make sure to do your research. Learn as much as you can about the culture and the language. And most importantly, remember to have fun with the process.
Right. Do your research. Also, confidence. Don't be shy or afraid to reach out for help. And that's all the time we have for today. But NewsGen will be here tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Korean time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Brooke Prince.
Thank you so much.
And Fabio Gonzalez.
Thank you so much.
You did such an amazing job.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And a friendly reminder that Arirang TV is conducting a program survey including NewsGen in order to meet our viewers' expectations until August 4th. So please visit us at our official website or mobile app for your valuable feedback and take part in a chance to receive Bluetooth earbuds and K-pop merch. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.